Hello friends, welcome to my channel and welcome if you are new. So today I am going to recap a story for you. And this is about my experience with supernatural, divine healing and protection. And I have never experienced this before. I've always thought that God has been in my life protecting me in some ways from a lot of different things, from jobs I've had to, screw ups I've made, all of that. But this healing experience is something I have never experienced before, and it was kind of freaky, but also very moving because something was happening in my body, and this is something I had never experienced before. So as you can see, I have a band-aid here on my forehead, and I just got back from Mexico from our annual winter vacation. And every year we go to Puerto Vallarta, and we love it there. The people are wonderful, the resorts are wonderful. Have always gone there, and usually there's never been any kind of an issue, except maybe, a twisted ankle here and there, whatever. Well, I am going to try and recap this story, and it's kind of emotional because I really feel that things could have turned out to be much worse than what they were. This is why I feel that I was protected in some way and watched over by my guardian angels or divine source, God. And the main thing is too is I don't like to remember it because of all of those things. And the fact that I looked pretty bad. I look a lot better than I did. I obviously have makeup on, but my face was pretty messed up. So let me tell you what happened. About 3 days, maybe 4 days into the trip, we had been obviously having adult beverages in the pool and, chit-chatting with people and whatever. Well, the one day, probably 3 or 4 days in, I overindulged, let's say. And at the end of the day, we had plenty of adult beverages. We were doing shots, and, I was probably getting a little, overboard. And so I left the pool and was going to go to the bathroom. Well, my fiance was trying to help me out of the pool. There were steps there. You know how you like walk the steps up out of a pool, and then a railing is there. And of course, I was drunk and not belligerent, but of course you think you're invincible, right? So he said, "Let me help you." I'm like, "No." And this is what he says, because I don't remember any of this. He says, "No." He says, you said, "No, I can do it." And whatever. Well, going up the steps of the pool, I apparently tripped. I had a pair of sunglasses on there, pretty big sunglasses. I had a baseball cap on. And when I walked up those steps, that's all I remember. And I don't remember. Sorry if I get a little emotional here, because this is where I don't like to remember what happened, because it scares me to death. I don't remember any of it. The only thing I remember is coming to, and I was in a wheelchair being wheeled down the hallway to our room, our hotel room that we were staying in. And, I felt my head was bandaged. My nose kind of hurt. But I don't remember anything. And, obviously, I don't know if it was just the room service guy or the paramedic, the whatever, was obviously pushing the wheelchair. And he gets me into the room, and, I either sit down and they start talking to me and, about kind of what happened and this and that, whatever. And then I don't know if I fell asleep. I don't know if I kept talking, to my fiance about what happened, but basically that is what happened. And at this time I had not looked at my face. I think if I looked Yeah, I didn't even like look at my face, so I didn't even know what I looked like. I just felt this bandage around my head, you know? And yeah, so that was that evening. And I went to bed, I think, you know, because I was tired and not feeling well. Oh, and then so my fiance is in the room and he starts like dry heaving and puking in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, and then he says to me, you know, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to you. I would take this all if I could, blah, blah. And I don't know what I look like. And I'm thinking, what in the hell? Like, what has happened to me? Like, because he never acts like that. And I'm like, what in the hell has happened to me? Like, what is going on? And I asked him, I said, what is going on? Like, what happened? He's like, you hit your head really bad and you know, it's not looking really good and this and I'm like, oh my God, like I was like totally at that point helpless. Like I had nothing to rely on but him and God to get me through this, to give me strength to get through this. Because I had no idea what I looked like. So he went to bed, we went to bed, whatever, got up the next day. And I don't know if I got up and like finally started washing. I mean, my head kind of hurt, you know. I got up and washed my makeup off. Well, I looked in the mirror and I had like dried blood on the top of my nose. The top of my nose here to the end was totally skinned up. Down here was skinned up. And of course, I couldn't see the top because, you know, this bandage was on. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I looked like I had fallen off a motorcycle and skinned my face on the concrete. And I was like, oh my freaking God. Like, no wonder he was freaking out. So I washed off all my face and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. And nothing really hurt, you know. I mean, it was more like a, you know, bad sunburn scrape kind of thing. You know, nothing was really like oozing and bleeding or anything like that. But I did have this thing on the top of my nose that was, I mean, it was a gash. And I probably landed on my sunglasses, I'm thinking. So that day or something, maybe early in the morning, I can't remember, but the bandage started to come off the back. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to take this off. Like, so I called the medic, I guess it is, at the hotel, you know, the emergency people or whatever. It's not a doctor, but it's like, you know, whatever. And he came to my room and I just wanted a bandage, you know, to retape the back of the, you know, bandage that was on. And so they come up with the kit and the whole works. And I'm glad they did because they took everything off, they looked at it, cleaned it all up again, whatever. And then of course the guy, you know, has a Spanish dialect, but he says, you know, your head is gonna hurt. How you feeling? You know, your head is gonna hurt. And you may need stitches. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, maybe dos stitches. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm thinking 8, you know, 7 stitches. When somebody has a pretty good gash, you know, that's when they have a lot of stitches, you know. And I'm like, oh, 2? I'm like, okay, well, no, I'm not getting 2 stitches. Plus, here I am in a foreign country, you know. I'm like, am I gonna go to the hospital and get stitches? Like, what the, you know? And so I said, well, what happens? And they like, oh, you know, doctor can come here to the room or you can go see him. And, you know, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I said, well, I'll think about it, you know, whatever. So they clean up everything, bandage me up again, whatever. So that was that. Then I waited a couple days because I had to find out if, you know, my medical insurance covered anything out there, you know, what happens, whatever. So my fiance was like, Trish, you know, you really should go to the doctor at least, you know, to the resort doctor and, you know, find out what they say. See if you do need stitches, you know. So I call and find out how much it's going to be, you know, and what they do and all this. So we find him, we go down there. The gentleman is wonderful. All I can say is I thank God every day that these people were so kind to me and so they were just so calm. Like it was so eerie. And I'm sure they see this shit all the time, you know, right? Like people partying too much. They see it all the time, right? So I go to the doctor and he's like, oh, and he knew what happened. I think I was the talk of the resort at the time. And he says, okay, and so he takes it all off. It had like dried on there. So I had to get some water and kind of like help him peel it off. And he looked at it and I said, stitches? He's like, and he was looking. He's like, no stitches. He's like, it healing. I'm like, he's like, yeah. And what it was is if it wasn't going to stop bleeding, that's where I was going to have stitches, And so let me do this. I don't even like looking at it. And that's what happened. So I prayed to God that all of this, the top of my nose, the bridge of my nose, under here would heal before I would have to look at this. And it pretty much did. Not completely, but to the point where I could like deal with like taking off my makeup like halfway to deal with this and then like not watching this part because it's bad. So I have my bandage kind of peeled off. I'm going to show you and I'm going to just close my eyes because I don't like looking at it. I have to put things on it, but I'm going to show you and I'm going to like not look. So that is the cut. Now, I can look at it now. But that looks way better. So it's been like 2-3 weeks now, right? It looks a lot better. It looked much worse. And when you have this whole area messed up, it's bad. I have never had I've never had stitches. I've never had that kind of an injury ever in my entire life. So the doctor gets me all, situated, whatever, and prescribes me some things. Now, I'm going to show you this. And this is another thing that it was very eye-opening to me. So he says, I give you prescription vitamin C, zinc. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm thinking no antibiotics or anything, whatever. So he says, vitamin C has zinc in it, blah, blah, help with healing. I'm like, oh, okay. And ointments, for a scar, I'm like, oh, okay. This is what he gives me. I got it from the pharmacy. Oxycal C. This is the Spanish version of what I feel is like a airborne or a, emergency kind of thing. They're vitamin C effervescent tablets, okay? 10 of them. He says take, one a day for 10 days. I'm like, okay. Then he prescribes me this stuff called Ketos Cell. Now, my friends, this is worth its weight in gold. If you can get your hands on this in Mexico, I would do it. They prescribe me, of course, so this is a 30-gram tube. Here's what it looks like in this tube. The prescription that I got when at the pharmacia, when the courier had to bring it over to the hotel, was like a sample tube like this big. Like it wasn't even this wide. It was a little sample tube. That was what this one cost, if not more. This I got at the pharmacia at the airport because you can get a lot of things at duty free, like if you use Retin-A for pimples or wrinkles or whatever. I've gotten that there. It's expensive, but you can get it without a prescription. And I'm like, I'm going to check to see if it's at the airport. Sure as anything, it was there. I'm telling you what, this is worth its weight in gold. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. The day after after I went to see the doctor, I was sitting in the bed just kind of relaxing. And I felt my head was throbbing. I could feel that the blood was rushing to the wounds, I guess I'll say, right here and on my nose. And the blood was rushing there, obviously, to start the healing process. And all of a sudden, I feel this strange feeling. And it was like, it felt like this. Like, just my cells intertwining and just like regenerating, and I kept thinking, like, what is going on? Like, what is this? Is it electrical, like, currents? Is it like, and it wasn't like an electrical, like, stimulation or like a vibration or anything like that. It was just like all these little, like it was all like right here. It was like just intertwining and mingling and, and I just sat there and I was like, what is going on? And I said, Steve, I said, I am feeling a strange feeling in my head right now. And I said, I think I'm healing. I think, I think there is some supernatural healing going on. He's like, oh, come on. I'm like, no, Steve, like, it feels like it's not an electrical, like, current or anything, or, whatever. I said, it's like all these intertwining little things. It's like cellular. He's like, are you kidding? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's healing. Like, I can feel it healing. So I just let it go and I just tucked it in the back of my head and I'm like, thank you, God. Like, if this is you healing my face and my head, oh my God, like, glory be to God. Because, so after that, I happened to start researching, like, what this keto cell does. And I'm like, what is it? Because everyone here in the States knows of, like, Mederma, the skin, the scar repair creams and whatnot. And I started researching this. And first of all, he wanted me to start using this. I'm like, well, don't you use, like, scar cream, like, after the scab is gone, after the wound is healed and all that? And so I started researching this, and they're like, no, you start using it now. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's kind of like an antibiotic, like a wound healing, almost like maybe a neosporin kind of a thing. This stuff is crazy. I didn't read it all, but it is like, I don't know. I don't know if it's some new product. I don't know if it's I don't even know. But I'm going to attach a picture right here that shows a diagram in their brochures and in their, materials about what this stuff does to the scar and the wound and whatever. And that is exactly what I felt going on in my head. Honest to God. Like, it was the I can't even remember what the terms are. I'll have to, like, put them here too. Like the your skin cells and your the scar and the tissue and all that. And I wish I could have researched that. I should have. I'm sorry. But I'll put those names here. And that's exactly what I felt going on in my head under these wounds. Like, it was, and you can see the diagram, like, it's all like this, and like all of that little, like, regeneration. It was insane. It was freaking insane. And once I saw the picture, like, I was scrolling and kind of reading stuff, and all of a sudden I come to this picture, I was like, that's exactly what I felt going on in my head. Of course, I'm not gonna let my vacation in Mexico go to waste, right? I mean, I am still going to have alcoholic beverages. I'm still going to lay out in the sun and be in the pool, right? Like, I mean, that's why I was there. So next couple days, my head is hurting. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I'm taking a leave, a couple times a day. Of course, my vitamin C pills. I go out to the pool. I'm taking it, like, very easy now. Like, I'm drinking during the day, but it's like, at the most, like, maybe 4 drinks a day, and if that, and they were in, like, huge tumblers. So I was, like, nursing. I'm like, it was not anywhere near what I was experiencing. And so and this is where it gets emotional too. So the lifeguard that helped me when I first fell, he came over to me and asked me how I was doing. He's like, Senorita, you okay? And I said, yes, I am. I said, thank you so much. He was, you could tell that he was very concerned about me. And I said, I went to a doctor, he looked and, cleaned it up, and he's like, okay, good, 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 and I said, do I need bandage on it? Because by this time, I mean, it was still a big bandage, and he's like, no, you could put little, tape on it, and, just keep it, he broke in English, right? But I could understand what he was saying. He's like, no, just put little tape, and, he showed me in his little, first aid kit box, And I said, okay. I said, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. And he, he just laughed, and he's like, he knew. I said, I don't want to look. And, so that was fine, and I think, and he asked me if he could, look at it and wash it up now. I said, okay, well, now I'm sitting like under the palapa at the pool. People are walking by. And he starts taking off my bandage, and people walk by. They're like, oh, dang, that's a good one. So, there were parts of this that were amusing, and, you have to be lighthearted about it because, otherwise, like I've always said, you have to laugh because otherwise you'll cry, right? And he was there, doctoring up, and there was also a female lifeguard there, and so she was Spanish too, and she was also helping and, wiping it off with iodine and rebandaging it, whatever. And they got done, and just their smile, and you could just tell they're such good people. And I said, mi amor, meaning, my love, and of course I don't know what to say, but they knew what I was saying, and I said, mi amor. And I went up and I hugged him, and then I hugged her too, and I kissed her cheek, and I kissed his cheek too, and they knew, and I don't know, maybe that's what I'm on this earth for, is to show my appreciation for a job well done, right? Like, help people with their karma and just treat people with love and respect, when they need it. Because I tell you, this whole situation could have been so much worse. Like, I could have woke up with a broken nose in a hospital in Mexico, like, not that that's any bad thing, but it's like, it's not something that you want to happen, right? Like, in a foreign country, I could have knocked a tooth out, anything could have happened, and I don't know if I have, I mean, of course it's my stupidity, right? And that's what I chalk it up to, but if I have, some sort of evil enemy coming at me, and this was God's, to do something bad to me, and this was God's way of protecting me from something worse that he saw happening. Oh my God, like, that's what gets me so emotional too. Like, I don't know, I've never experienced this before in my freaking life, nor have I experienced the rapid healing, because it's almost like it never, I mean, my head still hurts, and I'm still taking a leave and stuff, but the rapid healing that happened, it was almost like, okay, this was like just your like little movie run, you know what I mean? Like, you just played a character, and now we're gonna just heal you all up, and like nothing happened. I mean, it's freaking nuts. So that day, we finished up our day at the pool, and I had carried on with my vacation because, like I said, I'm not gonna ruin it. And so I was talking to Steve, and I'm like, Steve, I didn't even catch that lifeguard's name. Like, I want to know, like, who he was. Here's something else. So the next day, we're down at the pool again, and we're getting ready to leave, and he was at the lifeguard stand, or, little palapa, whatever. And I go up, and I said, nombre, and I saw his name on his shirt, and his name was Angel, or Angel, Angel, and I just about freaking died. And I said, nombre, and I saw it on it, and I'm like, and he just got this grin on his face, and I was like, is this really happening right now? Like, your name is Angel? Like, what in the frick, man? And of course, what was even funnier is that he had a twin brother. And I didn't catch his name, but it was like, Oh my god, this is freaking nuts. This is freaking nuts. And of course I start crying, and he, pats me and he's like, no, no, and of course I said, and then I, kissed my hand and I kissed her face and his face, because that was going to be the end of our trip and I probably wasn't going to see him again, but just the whole thing was so spiritual, so freaky, so all I can say is thank the Lord. I thank him still every freaking day. And I prayed that he would heal me. I prayed that he would heal me, heal my face, heal the part of my face that I could deal with, and before I would have to look at this bad part, and he did. And the Lord is good, is all I can say, because it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. And when you see your partner getting sick of he claims he was getting sick because of course he was, drinking too, and but when you feel that he's reacting this way because of how you look or experienced, and he wants to be able to like take this away from you, and you see a macho guy doing this, you're like, oh my freaking god, like what has happened to me? Like what is the outcome gonna be? Because I didn't know. I could have got a huge infection, who knows? So I just wanted to come out and share this experience, because I'm telling you what, hey, if you ever want to go to Mexico, go to Puerto Vallarta, because the people there are wonderful. I've always been treated wonderfully there, but this time was just unbelievable. Unbelievable what they did for me. Oh, and then one final thing. So I wanted to go to the front desk or talk to management about giving these lifeguards like praise and kudos, right? And especially Angel. And so I went to the front desk and this gentleman was up there, and I said, do you have a manager? Can we leave like a kudos, or just say how much we appreciate the lifeguards down there in Angel? He's like, well, I could take it for you. I said, yeah. I said, I slipped and fell, and I said they were just wonderful to me, and I just want to express my gratitude, for you guys. And of course this person speaks better English, and I said, I just want to say thank you for everything. And he's like, oh, of course, gracias, this, that. And he said something that, really hit home. He's like, well, a lot of those lifeguards, we hire them because they were previous fishermen, or they've been on fishing boats. And so they have seen so many injuries of every kind. And when you're out fishing in the middle of the ocean, you're not going to start the motors and, go back in when you're in the middle of, catching crab or fish or whatever you're doing. So those men and boys, if they lacerate their hand or foot or whatever, step on a hook, they're just dousing it. They probably just pour alcohol on it and, put some gauze in it and wrap it up and deal with it later, right? I mean, take some vitamin C later when they get home, get out their keto cell and, start doctoring themselves up. And it was like, wow. And he's absolutely right, because I've been to Mexico and Puerto Vallarta so many times that I went to, the old fishing villages. And yeah, you go there and they have all the fishing boats out there, the nets, and those guys are walking around barefoot. You can see it. They haven't worn shoes in months. And, they're out there doing their thing, making a living, and they don't have time to worry about an injury and getting stuck by a hook. So, he was very much accurate about that. That it's like, wow. And, that's another thing. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for right now. This came into my mind right now that maybe those are the people that you want to treat you when you have an injury like that, because they know what to do. I'm telling you, I mean, this still has to heal quite a bit, but the scabs are coming off. And who knows, maybe that lifeguard, I don't know what he did, because I wasn't conscious, but I don't know. And Steve tried to get there and help me, and I mean, he pushed him away. He, of course he's gonna, because he's like, get out of my way. I'm trained, you aren't. But who knows? I don't know if he like squeezed that wound or gash together and taped it and wrapped it in such a way that it was gonna heal, like, so there wasn't gonna be a scar, or that it would stop bleeding. I don't know. Like, maybe maybe he is the person that needed to heal me. Maybe here in the States, somebody wouldn't know what to frick to do, and I would have been like rushed to the hospital and have needed stitches, if, one or two or maybe more stitches. But maybe this was all a divine thing, that maybe if you get hurt in Mexico, you want a freaking lifeguard and ex-fisherman to freaking help you, because they know what the hell they're doing. And then these guys, maybe they do such good work that when you go down to the doctor and, the physician and get checked up on, most of the work is done because those guys know what the frick they're doing. I don't know. All I know is I thank God every day that this turned out the way it did, and that this didn't turn into a worse situation, or that, anything could have happened. So I just wanted to share my experience with this. And to just say that God is good. He really is. And when I saw that diagram about how this stuff heals you up, and what I was feeling in my head, I knew God was with me. I knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that he wasn't going to forsake me. But he surely did say, get your act together and stop acting like an idiot. Because I'll tell you right now, I stopped the freaking drinking, and I stopped acting like a freaking idiot, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm not doing anything like that again, because I don't need to be hit over the head too many times before I know what was gonna happen there. So I don't want to go on too much longer, but I just wanted to share my story. And yeah, I'm so thankful I got to experience this, at least the healing part of this, and to know that, wow, I guess if you're tuned into the Lord and Jesus and God, you will be able to feel things, supernatural things happen in your body that you've never experienced before. So hopefully this information was helpful for you. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.